now being recorded.
Okay, Margaret. So I just wanted to start off with asking you about if you have any special memories of performing in Atlantic City, maybe going crazy on the slot machines, or any other boardwalk adventures that you recall.
You know what? It's weird. I've never gambled because my family. I come from a blackjack dealer family, and so they worked in casinos for years in Reno in Nevada, and so it was very taboo for any of us to gamble, like any of the kids and like any of the relatives. Like so, it was just a very intense thing. Like you would just never gamble. And so I've actually never had that experience. I don't know what it would be like to gamble or anything. I've never done it. I should probably try it when I'm there. The last time I was there in Atlantic City, to me it's more just about shows and like hanging out. Like I was there with Sandra Bernhardt, which was great. I love her, and I did a show with her there, and it was really fun. And Perez Hilton came, and it was big fun weekend. And I never realized how gay Atlantic City is, but it really is very, very queer, and it was really fun time. And so I've always had fun there when I've been back there.
Mm-hmm. So it's more like a party scene for you than a gambling scene so much, or that's how it's been.
Yeah, it's more like a hanging out, like like going to see shows or going to do shows. Like the other time I was there was with the True Colors tour with Cyndi Lauper and I think Beth Ditto and The Gossips were on that date, and lots of other great bands. Debbie Harry was there, and it was a great, lot of fun.
So, tell me about this new stand-up set that you're doing. I saw on your website it's an untraditional look at motherhood. So, you're not so traditional anyway. So, I'm wondering where you're going with this material. So,
well, it's kind of like my own. My own history is like talking about my mother a lot because that was something that I always did when I was a comic. I mean, I have done it as a comic for years, but also I did it before I did comedy. Just making fun of her as a kid, and then. Now I'm at the age where most people relate to me as like a mother figure, and I'm not a mother, but I think that it's still appropriate for me to try to mother the planet, to be a mother to the world, and so it's kind of like when you don't have kids and you are, a woman in your 40s, where are you? Like, where do you exist in society? I'm not really exactly sure, and so I think becoming like a maternal figure for everybody is a great idea, and so that's sort of what I want to do with the show. But talking about lots of different things too. In that, like, I think it's hard to ask comics like what shows are about because it's always going to change and it's always going to be different, and it's sort of about what's happening and what happens in the news and what happens in culture, and so it's always a changing, growing thing.
You've always told stories about your mother, as you said, so I'm curious how she feels about being sometimes the subject of your material or maybe the punchline in a joke, or does she enjoy that role? Or
I think so. I think she really appreciates it. I think she really loves it. I mean, she comes from a society where women are really invisible. And so when you see her, it's like when you see her, when you talk about her, when you're kind of mainly the focus is her, it's a really big deal, and that's been always the case in my family, and in Korean culture and generally, women are often very much kind of relegated to the back, sort of like behind the men, and so this is a great thing. It's a great statement on how far we've come as an American family, how far I'm able to kind of just reach and go forward as a woman, which is a big deal in Korean culture. I think it's a really amazing step, and she loves it. She thinks it's really positive. I don't think she thinks of it as sort of being the butt of anyone's joke. She looks at it as being the star, which I think is a really better way to look at things.
Your stand-up is sort of this thing that changes and evolves, and it's not like this. If you see a show one week, that'll be the same the next week. So I'm curious, just how you have changed as a stand-up over the years. Are you more relaxed? Do you relate to the audience differently? Do you get nervous at all? How do you sort of, when you're about to go on stage, what's that feeling that you have?
Well, it's always a combination of feelings, and then it also changes from place to place. And also now I've been touring a lot internationally, so I'm going through this phase of like going to kind of, I have to sort of go and reintroduce myself to the industry of comedy in a way, you know, and you know, going to places where English is not the first language that, you know, people are speaking in. It's kind of hard to negotiate that too. Like you have to deal with the politics of culture and kind of being somebody that doesn't know about the culture and try to like figure out where you fit in, you know. So doing sets in like Germany or France, even England lately, you know, like I've been really trying to expand and grow and in a sense start over. So I've been, you know, hit very hard with stage fright. You know, it's very scary to go on stage after people have just been speaking French before you. And then you have to go on stage and speak English. It's really scary to go, you know, perform in front of people that you've only watched them relate to German. And then you have to go and try to speak to them in English, and it's really terrifying. So I think that puts me in an unusual case of being such a comedy veteran, yet forcing myself to continually start over in these new countries. It's really been a challenge. So I bring that, I think, a lot back to my shows here, which is a little bit different because people sometimes know my work from television or, you know, have seen my mom impression and stuff, or they've seen my comedy somewhere, so they kind of know what they're seeing. But if you know, when I go to a different country to work a new place, it's very different. So I have a lot of different feelings, you know, now. You know, I definitely feel kind of in a sense of like I'm starting over, which is a good thing to do. You don't want to get too complacent in comedy. I think a lot of comedians kind of just get really locked into their persona and their fame, and you know, they sort of stagnate, and I never want to be guilty of that.
Is it hard to capture these sort of ephemeral moments on, you know, on tape and sort of have it be captured? You know, are you happy with? Do you do multiple shows and edit it together? How do you sort of capture that?
Oh no, usually those are almost always in like when you do a performance for CD or DVD or whatever recording, it's just one performance.
Yeah.
And you want to maintain the integrity of that one performance. I mean, it's really like a classic rock and roll live album. You want to get like the one show. And if there's mistakes or whatever, you know, you perceive to be errors in there, you just have to live with that because it is a record of the moment as opposed to a best of or, you know, something that's sort of like the highlights of a tour, which I think is a little different. You know, those are all viable and cool ideas for live albums, but in my experience, like a live album is just, you know, one concert, you get one shot to do it, and I mean, I don't have that great attachment to kind of perfection or changing things. I mean, I guess you would in the studio if you're doing like something that's recorded, like, you know, just like a studio album, but you know, in performance, in live performance, in comedy especially, you know, the live nature of it, the unpredictability of it is part of the appeal.
You are, you know, talked a lot in the past about, you know, the difficulty when you had that series all those years ago and the network, dealing with the networks and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I'm curious now, how do you feel about TV now that you're on a regular on a series? You've had this great churn on 30 Rock. Are you liking TV again better? Does it seem like a more welcoming medium at this point? Or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love to work in television. I'd love to do more. I think it's a great thing. It's a very different medium from when I started. You know, when I started, there was 4 channels, and it was really old-fashioned. You know, there was you know, this intense scrutiny on, you know, there's certain shows that get made it, and now there's so much entertainment out there, and there's so much that you can do, and I think it's really great, and I think television is really, you know, in a great renaissance right now. There's so much creativity happening and so much great stuff going on. So I'm really hopeful. You know, I want to do more, and I'm really hopeful for the future. And you know, I'd love to see what it all comes down to. I'd love to do more.
And how was it to work with Tina Fey? She wrote the part with you in mind, right? That was something she approached you about and wanted you to do. Yeah,
and she is somebody that I love and respect very much, and you know, she approached me to do it, and I was absolutely super excited about it. I thought it was just a brilliant idea. And it just made sense, you know, and it was so fun and funny, and it was really easy, and I just had a great time doing it.
It sort of tied into your own sort of identity, right, because your family had to leave Korea years ago and sort of escape North Korea, is that right? Well,
half of my family is from South Korea and half of my family is from North Korea, and then a very political family from North Korea. So it was, you know, it's something that it sort of like broke my family up, because now we have like traced our genealogy back since like I think maybe the 3rd century, but the one part that's missing is the part that when, you know, the Koreas were divided. And so there's a couple of segments missing. So we're not even sure if we're sort of on the right path genealogically or whatever. And it, you know, it essentially kept, you know, sort of rift, like there's a big rift in my family. So half of them are on one side and half on the other. And, you know, just not having that connection to people that you're related to is really sad. But also, you know, it's a way to kind of like, I would really love to work on some kind of Korean citizenship, whether it is North or South Korean citizenship, if I can, and try to go there. I mean, that's my, you know, eventually one of my goals is that I would like to do that, but it's very, very difficult to do that with my American citizenship and kind of my political outlook and stuff. It's very hard.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a little bit dicey.
Yeah, it's a little challenging, just also because, you know, that I also very publicly made fun of Kim Jong Il, you know, even after his death. So it's like kind of, I don't know if that makes me.
I'm not going to do you do too well with that, right? Yeah.
Maybe I'm more welcomed. I don't know. Maybe I think that I could be a very, very passable body double for Kim Jong Un, and I should apply for that. So.
Well, I guess if TV doesn't work out, there's some good career options, right? Or,
I think I could go there, and I could be definitely a body double and appear at functions and give great speeches and basically be him for them whenever they need. Because you know there's going to be like 3 or 4 of them, so it's a possibility.
You know, once this article gets published, maybe, you know, this will get some attention. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Okay, well, on that note, I think it's a good point to end. So, Margaret, thanks so much for taking a little time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.